New York Mets jokes, MLB jokes. Q. What is the difference between Johan Santana and bowling icon Walter Ray Williams, Jr.? A. Walter Ray Williams, Jr. knows how to throw a strike. Q. Why did the post office recall their latest stamps? A. They had pictures of Mets players on them and people couldn't figure out which side to spit on. Q. Why do people like driving a car with a Mets fan? A. Because you can park in the handicap zone. Q. What do you get when you combine all 40 New York Mets with 40 lesbians? A. 80 people that don't do dick. Q. Why are the New York Mets starting pitchers like orphans? A. Because they don't know where home is. Q. What is the difference between a New York Mets fan and a pothole? A. I would swerve to avoid the pothole. Q. What's the difference between dirt and the New York Mets? A. Nothing, they both always get swept. Q. What song do New York Mets fans sing before the bottom of the ninth inning? A. Nobody knows. There's never any of them left. Q. What's the difference between the New York Mets and a mosquito? A. A mosquito stops sucking. Q. What's the difference between the New York Yankees and the New York Mets? A. The last Yankees World Series team picture isn't in black and white. Q. What do the New York Mets and possums have in common? A. Both play dead at home and get killed on the road. Q. What is the difference between a Mets fan and a baby? A. The baby will stop whining after a while. Q. What do the New York Mets and lawn furniture have in common? A. They both fold and end up in the cellar after Labor Day. Q. Did you hear the New York Mets are moving to the Philippines? A. They are going to be called the Manila Folders. Q. What do I have in common with the New York Mets? A. Next week, we'll both be watching the World Series on television. Q. What do New York Mets fans and sperm have in common? A. 1 in 3 million has a chance of becoming a human being. Q. How many New York Mets does it take to change a tire? A. 1, unless it's a blowout, in which case they all show up. Q. What do you call 40 millionaires around a TV watching the World Series? A. The New York Mets. Q. How can you tell if a Mets fan just sent you a fax? A. There's a stamp on it. Q. What do the New York Mets and Billy Graham have in common? A. They both can make 40,000 people stand up and yell Jesus Christ. Q. What is the difference between a bucket of shit and a New York Mets fan? A. The bucket. Q. If you have a car containing a Mets shortstop, a Mets catcher, and a Mets outfielder, who is driving the car? A. The cop. Q. How do you castrate a New York Mets fan? A. Kick his sister in the mouth. Q. What should you do if you find 3 New York Mets baseball fans buried up to their neck in cement? A. Get more cement. Q. What's the difference between a New York Mets fan and a carp? A. One is a bottom-feeding scum sucker, and the other is a fish. Q. How did the New York Mets fan die from drinking milk? A. The cow fell on him. Q. What does a New York Mets fan do when his team has won the World Series? A. He turns off the PlayStation 3. Q. How many New York Mets fans does it take to change a light bulb? A. None. Lava lamps don't burn out, man. Q. What does a New York Mets fan and a bottle of beer have in common? A. They're both empty from the neck up. Q. Why do New York Mets fans keep their season tickets on their dashboards? A. So they can park in handicap spaces. Q. How do the Mets spend the first week of training camp? A. Studying the Miranda rights. Q. How do you keep a Mets fan from masturbating? A. You paint his dick Phillies red and white and he won't beat it for 4 years. Q. Why do ducks fly over Citi Field upside down? A. There's nothing worth craping on. Q. Why doesn't Syracuse have a professional baseball team? A. Because then New York City would want one. Q. Did you hear that New York's baseball team doesn't have a website? A. They can't string three Ws together. Q. What do you call a New York Met in the World Series? A. An umpire. Q. What's the difference between a Citi Field hot dog and a Citizens Bank Park hot dog? A. You can buy a Citizens Bank Park hot dog in October. Q. Why did BP hire the New York Mets to clean up the Gulf oil spill? A. Because they'll go out there and throw in the towel. Q. What's the difference between a dead dog in the road and a dead New York Mets fan in the road? A. There are skid marks in front of the dog. Q. What is a New York Mets fan's favorite wine? A. We can't beat Philadelphia. Q. How do you stop a New York Mets fan from beating his wife? A. Dress her in Philadelphia red and white. Q. What do Mets fans use for birth control? A. Their personalities. Q. How do you make a Mets fan laugh on Monday? A. Tell him a joke on Friday. Q. You're trapped in a room with a lion, a rattlesnake, and a Mets fan. You have a gun with 2 bullets. What should you do? A. Shoot the Mets fan. Twice. Q. What do you call a Mets player with a World Series ring? A. A thief. Q. Why can't the New York Mets use the internet? A. Because they can't get 3 Ws in a row. Q. What do Michael Jackson and the New York Mets infielders have in common? A. They both wear one glove for no apparent reason. Q. What does the New York Mets manager and Alex Trebek have in common? A. Both of their jobs are in jeopardy. Q. Why is Halloween the New York Mets' favorite holiday? A. It's the only thing in October they have to look forward to. Q. Why do all the trees in the Northeast lean towards New York? A. It's because the Mets suck. Q. What is the difference between a cactus and the Mets dugout? A. On a cactus the pricks are on the outside. Dear Mets fans, rather than wasting money on a replica hat, just strap a large rubber dildo to your head. Everyone will know who you support. Police in New York responded to a call of a vehicle break-in. The owner of the vehicle said he 2 tickets to a Mets game on his dash end. Someone busted his window and left 2 more Mets tickets. Reckless driver. A Mets fan liked to amuse himself by scaring every Phillies fan he saw. Strutting down the street in an obnoxious Philly pinstripe shirt. He would swerve his van as if to hit them, then swerve back just missing them. One day while driving along, he saw a priest. He thought he would do a good deed, so he pulled over and asked the priest, "Where are you going?" "Father, I'm going to give Mass at St. Francis Church, about 2 miles down the road," replied the priest. "Climb in, Father. I'll give you a lift." The priest climbed into the passenger seat, and they continued down the road. Suddenly, the driver saw a Phillies fan walking down the road, and he instinctively swerved as if to hit him. But, as usual, he swerved back onto the road just in time. Even though he was certain that he had missed the guy, he still heard a loud thud. Not knowing where the noise came from, he glanced in his mirrors but still didn't see anything. He then remembered the priest, and he turned to the priest and said, "Sorry, Father, I almost hit that Phillies fan." "That's okay," replied the priest, "I got him with the door." Better at sex. There were 2 men, one was a Mets fan and the other was a Phillies fan. These men were both madly in love with the same woman. So the woman challenged that whichever man does a better job at having sex with her would be her boyfriend. Both men accepted the challenge. That night, the woman had sex with the Mets fan and then the other night had sex with the Phillies fan. The next day the woman chose the Phillies fan to be her boyfriend. Shocked and outraged, the Mets fan asked why she didn't choose him. She replied by saying, "You, like your team, not only come up short but always finish early." Career Day. It's career day in elementary school where each student talks about what their dad does. Little Johnny is last, and finally the teacher calls on him to talk about his dad. Johnny comes to the front of the class. "My daddy is a dancer at a gay bar. He takes off his clothes for other men, and if they pay him enough money, he goes into the alley and performs sex acts on them." The teacher is shocked, and she calls for an early recess for the rest of the class. She sits down with Johnny and asks him if this is really true about his dad. Johnny says, "No, but I was too embarrassed to say he played for the New York Mets." First grade. A first grade teacher explains to her class that she is a New York Mets fan. She asks her students to raise their hands if they were Mets fans. 2. Not really knowing what a Mets fan was, but wanting to be like their teacher, hands explode into the air. There is, however, one exception. A girl named Mary has not gone along with the crowd. The teacher asks her why she has decided to be different. "Because I'm not a Mets fan." Then, asks the teacher, "What are you?" "Why, I'm proud to be a Philadelphia Phillies fan," boasts the little girl. The teacher is a little perturbed now, her face slightly red. She asks Mary why she is a Phillies fan. "Well, my dad and mom are Phillies fans, and I'm a Phillies fan, too." The teacher is now angry. "That's no reason," she says loudly. "What if your mom was a moron, and your dad was a moron, what would you be then?" A pause, and a smile. "Then," says Mary, "I'd be a Mets fan." Father and son. A father and son are outside City Field, and the young son is asking his father to buy him a Braves Suck t-shirt. The father hesitates, but finally tells his son, "You can have the shirt if you promise never to say that word." "That's right," says the t-shirt vendor, wanting to make the sale. "Suck isn't a very nice word." "No," replies the father. "I meant the word Braves."